The end of employment planning module at Interact is a very sophisticated module that allows you to set up a complete process and track all the activities that need to take place when an employee is leaving the organization. What we're looking at here is the general setup that allows us to set up the basics about how we do the checklist numbering, how the handover of activities will be numbered, how the exit interviews will be numbered. Everything is always driven with codes and numbers in our system, of course. You have the ability to add a quick text around your checklists, and then you can also set up the workflow on who needs to be notified, who needs to approve specific activities in the exit checklist, and so on. You can link this process to employee termination, which means if an employee is terminated from an HR user, automatically this process will kick in. You can link it to end of service settlements, and you can ensure that this checklist will be available through the employee self-service. First of all, we will have checklists defined, so that means we'll have activity groups and activities, and we also have notice letters, templates, and so on. If we look at the checklist activity groups, you'll see that I have created a distinction between a checklist for employees and a checklist for the HR department. Those are my two distinctions that I have. And if we look at the actual activities that we have defined, you'll find a long list of activities which we have created. Some are specifically for the employee, some are for the HR department, and you can see how they have come about. This is all done right here. You can even choose a different color for the text and so on. Those are my checklist activities. So as you can see, this is going to be specific to your organization, so you create your own checklist that is relevant for you. As I mentioned, we also have notice letters that will be issued. You'll have an exit interview that will be conducted, and therefore we can create exit interview question groups and interview questions. So we look at the interview question groups right now. Here's a set of different question groups that we want to use for an exit interview. So I have questions around reasons for leaving, job-related questions, supervisor-related questions, and organization-related questions. Same model that we use to enter and add these types of groups. Now let's look at the actual exit interview questions. You can see we are creating a framework here so that we can use this later on when we use the system. So here are some of my questions. If I want to see how we created that, you can see this down here. You can see that there's the option to have a multiple choice or a yes or no or an open text answer method. Everything is up to you. So now I have a question bank of exit interview questions. I have a list of items for the checklist, and the last thing that we have is handover activities. So we will define a list of handover activities. Those you can find right here. And for each one of them, again, we can set up how we want this to be displayed, what color to use, and so on. Now, what does this look like in real life? Let's say somebody gets terminated. The system will then create an end of employment checklist for me. I'll take a look at the first one here for Susie. And as you remember, we created two groups. We had a checklist for employees and a checklist for HR department. So if we look at the checklist for our employees, here's a checklist for employee. Now the system could assign this automatically to that employee, or you could still have the ability to assign it to somebody else. You can put in the date by when the activity should start and by when it should complete, and you can also update the status. That has already been done here for the HR department. You see they have their own list of activities and they've already entered a lot of information. So all of this can be done online and through self-service as and when required. So once you've gone through the checklist, one of the items on the list might be the exit interview. So let's take a look at an exit interview right here. Obviously, this would typically be done face-to-face, but the information can be captured online. The list of questions that we've talked about is right here. So as you see, some of them are yes/no questions, others are multiple choice. So I have my job-related questions, I have my reasons for leaving, I have my supervisor-related questions, and I have organization-related questions. All of this is done online. This could also be entered through self-service by the employee. Again, we're trying to simplify things for you. And the last item on the list is that depending on the nature of your business, you might need the employee to do a formal handover of activities. So therefore, I have a project handover area, again, available through self-service. And we'll take a look at one of our employees, Denise. So here's a project handover checklist that's already been completed. You can see that you can change the dates, or you can add comments here, do whatever you need to do, and submit it as the employee. As you have seen, the list of activities that are listed here is just there because that's the ones that I want to see there. It is completely user-defined. And that brings us back to the core logic. You determine your checklist, you decide your project handover activities, and you decide the exit interview format and content, and then you provide all this information through the self-service to the relevant employee and or supervisor, and things will be managed online. You'll receive notifications and reports about everything that's been done, and the process should be bulletproof really in the end, because everything will be checked. Everything is documented in the system. Keep in mind that if you do not have a sophisticated exit process and you do not need one, then there's no need to do that in the system either. It is just there in order to support you in case you have a lot of steps to worry about and you want to make sure that these are properly documented. That's when Interact HRMS can help you by streamlining that exit process.